Random House Audio presents Never Go Back by Lee Child, read for you by Dick Hill. Eventually, they put Reacher in a car and drove him to a motel a mile away, where the night clerk gave him a room, which had all the features Reacher expected, because he had seen such rooms 1,000 times before. There was a raucous through-the-wall heater, which would be too noisy to sleep with, which would save the owner money on electricity. There were low-watt bulbs in all the fixtures, likewise. There was a low-pile carpet that after cleaning would dry in hours, so the room could rent again the same day. Not that the carpet would be cleaned often. It was dark and patterned, and ideal for concealing stains, as was the bedspread. No doubt the shower would be weak and strangled, and the towels thin and the soap small and the shampoo cheap. The furniture was made of wood, all dark and bruised, and the television set was small and old, and the curtains were gray with grime. All as expected. Nothing he hadn't seen 1,000 times before, but still dismal. So before even putting the key in his pocket, he turned around and went back out to the lot. The air was cold and a little damp. The middle of the evening, in the middle of winter in the northeastern corner of Virginia. The lazy Potomac was not far away. Beyond it, in the east, D.C.'s glow lit up the clouds. The nation's capital, where all kinds of things were going on. The car that had let him out was already driving away. Reacher watched its taillights grow faint in the mist. After a moment, they disappeared completely, and the world went quiet and still, just for a minute. Then another car showed up, brisk and confident, like it knew where it was going. It turned into the lot. It was a plain sedan, dark in color, almost certainly a government vehicle. It aimed for the motel office, but its headlight beam swung across Reacher's immobile form, and it changed direction and came straight at him. Visitors. Purpose unknown. But the news would be either good or bad. The car stopped parallel with the building, as far in front of Reacher as his room was behind him, leaving him alone in the center of a space the size of a boxing ring. 2 men got out of the car. Despite the chill, they were dressed in T-shirts, tight and white, above the kind of athletic pants sprinters peel off seconds before a race. Both men looked more than 6 feet and 200 pounds. Smaller than Reacher, but not by much. Both were military. That was clear. Reacher could tell by their haircuts. No civilian barber would be as pragmatic or brutal. The market wouldn't allow it. The guy from the passenger side tracked around the hood and formed up with the driver. The 2 of them stood there, side by side. Both wore sneakers on their feet, big and white and shapeless. Neither had been in the Middle East recently. No sunburn, no squint lines, no stress and strain in their eyes. Both were young, somewhere south of 30. Technically, Reacher was old enough to be their father. They were NCOs, he thought. Specialists, probably, not sergeants. They didn't look like sergeants. Not wise enough. The opposite, in fact. They had dull, blank faces. The guy from the passenger side said, "Are you Jack Reacher?" Reacher said, "Who's asking?" "We are." "And who are you?" "We're your legal advisors." Which they weren't, obviously. Reacher knew that. Army lawyers don't travel in pairs and breathe through their mouths. They were something else. Bad news, not good. In which case, immediate action was always the best bet, and always the safest approach. Reacher's mantra was, get your retaliation in first, especially when outnumbered 2-to-1 against guys with youth and energy on their side. But he wasn't sure. Not completely. Not yet. And he couldn't afford a mistake of that nature. Not then. Not under the circumstances. He said, "So what's your legal advice?" "Conduct unbecoming," the guy said. "You brought the unit into disrepute. A court-martial would hurt us all. So you should get the hell out of town, right now, and you should never come back again." No one mentioned the court-martial. "Not yet, but they will, so don't stick around for it. I'm under orders. They couldn't find you before. They won't find you now. The Army doesn't use skip tracers, and no skip tracer could find you anyway. Not the way you seem to live." Reacher said nothing. The guy said, "So, that's our legal advice." Reacher said, "Noted." "You need to do more than note it, do I? Because we're offering an incentive." "What kind?" "Every night we find you still here, we're going to kick your ass." "Are you?" "Starting tonight, so you'll get the right general idea about what to do." Reacher said, "You ever bought an electrical appliance?" "What's that got to do with anything?" "I saw one once in a store. It had a yellow label on the back. It said, if you messed with it, you ran the risk of death or serious injury." "So?" "Pretend I've got the same kind of label." "We're not worried about you, old man." Reacher decided not to use his key. They were just dumb kids, no need for torn flesh and broken bones. He put the key in his pocket and said, "I'm going inside now." No response. He said, "Good night." No response. Reacher half turned and half stepped back toward his door, a fluid quarter circle, shoulders and all, and like he knew they would, the two guys moved toward him, faster than he was moving, off script and involuntary, ready to grab him. Reacher kept it going long enough to let their momentum establish, and then he whipped back through the reverse quarter circle toward them, by which time he was moving just as fast as they were. 250 pounds about to collide head-on with 400, and he kept on twisting and threw a long left hook at the left-hand guy. It caught him as designed, hard on the ear, and the guy's head snapped sideways and bounced off his partner's shoulder, by which time Reacher was already throwing a right-hand uppercut under the partner's chin. It hit like a how-to diagram, and the guy's head went up and back the same way his buddies had bounced around, and almost in the same second, like they were puppets, and the puppeteer had sneezed. Both of them stayed on their feet. The left-hand guy was wobbling around like a man on a ship, and the right-hand guy was stumbling backward. The left-hand guy was all unstable and up on his heels, and his center mass was open and unprotected. Reacher popped the clubbing right into his solar plexus, hard enough to drive the breath out of him, soft enough not to cause lasting neurological damage. The guy folded up and crouched and hugged his knees. Reacher stepped past him and went after the right-hand guy, who saw him coming and swung a feeble right of his own. Reacher clouted it aside with his left forearm and repeated the clubbing right to the solar plexus. The guy folded in half, just the same. After that, it was easy enough to nudge them around until they were facing in the right direction, and then to use the flat of his boot sole to shove them toward their car, first one and then the other. They hit head-on, pretty hard, and they went down flat. They left shallow dents in the door panels. They lay there, gasping, still conscious. A dented car to explain, and headaches in the morning. That was all. Merciful, under the circumstances. Benevolent, considerate, soft, even. old man.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?